The EduTech guys present a conversation from our live coverage of FETC in Orlando, Florida on Tuesday, January 23rd, 2018. Enjoy the program.
Hey, I'm Mickey Freeman. I am from Denver, Colorado, actually Golden, just west, if you know where that is, on the way to the ski slopes. And I am the co-founder and president of Education Funding Partners.
Oh, awesome. Okay. So, first of all, I used to live in Colorado. I lived in Denver, Boulder, Lakewood. I lived a little bit everywhere. So
and why would you leave?
Lots of reasons I can't get into on the air, but
understand.
Anyway.
You'll blame her later. Okay.
But, no. For the record, I did tell my wife that if she ever wakes up one day and decides that we can move anywhere, anytime, I said we're going back to Colorado. I would live there in a heartbeat.
I'll give you a card. Look me up.
That's right.
So what brings you to FETC?
So I'm on a panel this afternoon about EdTech practices and policies. I'm sort of representing our company, which does public-private partnerships. We're all about matching brands with public school districts to drive new funding sources. Most districts don't think about revenue. They think about expense. So we actually are surprisingly on the revenue side to help them figure out how to monetize some of their assets they may not realize have value.
That's cool. Okay, so like an example.
Parents and teachers.
Okay.
So we're a cause marketing platform. So think about us as a socially responsible marketing play for brands that are trying to do more corporate social responsibility. In the past, districts may have gone to foundations and asked for small dollars. It took 18 months to get an answer, and you're not going to move the needle on offsetting budget cuts by going down that path. So we decided we wanted to tap into the $180 billion that we spend on marketing in this country every year and try to redirect just a small percentage of that into a new public education marketing channel that's socially responsible, that gives all the controls to the districts, and make sure only the right brands show up in the right way with the right controls. And that's what we've built over the last 7 years.
So what does that look like?
So if you've ever been on a school district website, you might see, because of us, I suppose, that you'll see display ads show up in the form of corporate sponsorship. So LLB and General Motors, Ford, Bank of America, brands that an individual district, even if they're Chicago or LA or some of the monster ones, could probably never get on their own because they're too regional.
Right.
National brands want to invest in a national footprint. So it's about impressions. What we've done is create a marketplace for them where it's only screened and controlled brands that the districts approve of, and the districts can take any brand off their list. If you're a Walmart district and not a Target district, that's fine with us. If you're Microsoft versus Google, we don't care because we can monetize that display ad.
Sure.
So to us, it's been a journey of figuring out where and how the brands would engage in a way that was acceptable to public school districts, because this is just not a world they came from. Fundraising was something that happened at the school level, not really the district level. We come in at the central office so we can roll up all elementary, middle, and high school impressions, which really have evolved to be parent and teacher impressions, which are a very valuable marketplace and a hard to reach market.
Yeah, completely hard to reach market.
Well, and that's we're based in Arkansas, and it's probably every couple of years this exact conversation comes up. A district will say something along the lines of, we sell banners, physical banners on our baseball field. We have the bank name, and we have, just for the sake of argument, Coca-Cola on our scoreboard. Yes. Why can't we have the same thing on our website? And there's always this big, massive debate about, can you put advertising, sponsorships? Can you do that? Can you not do this? So, I can only imagine that in some places, and maybe especially at the very beginning, that's a very tough, potentially a tough avenue to navigate.
It was a challenge to create this marketplace. So we either have a first mover advantage or a huge second mover disadvantage, as a much bigger funded brand might come into this. But I think it's the former. What we basically did was go at the district's pace, which a lot of startups don't do. We are a for-profit social enterprise. We're what's called a benefit corporation, if you're familiar with B Corps. Okay. So it's very incumbent on us that we have that better housekeeping stamp of approval to say that we're only going to do this in the right way that works for districts. Sure. So if that meant 12 to 18 months of a cycle to get all the way up to the superintendent and a board for them to say, yes, let's figure out an appropriate way to monetize that idle asset. our district websites, our school sites, our social media sites, email campaigns, things of that nature, then we went at their pace, and that earned us kudos. It's sort of like the old government adage, it might take a long time, but once you're in, you become the favorite vendor as long as you perform. So for us, it's been all about doing it the right kind of a way.
Yeah.
Screening in only the right kind of brands. You would recognize the brands on the website. There might be 1% of them be like, you'd look them up and you'd be like, oh, they're an ed tech company, got it.
Right.
So it's all the right kinds of brands in the right ways. And the good news is it's no work for the district. It's some HTML code.
Sure.
It's all kind of back-ended on our side, and we make sure that we are plugged into the advertising supply chain to make sure that the right brands show up.
That's cool.
So how, thinking of this from really from kind of your, well, I guess no, not even more from the brand side.
Right.
If I'm a national soft drink bottling company, and you come to me and say, hey, we can put ads, we can put banner ads on these school websites, and I'm thinking, how much traffic is a school website possibly getting? How is this going to benefit me? How does that work from that side of things?
Sure, and it's a shocking number. Like your average top 100 size district gets over 1 million impressions a month as people are coming for information. It could be at the high school level, guidance counselor and college prep stuff. It could be just being pointed at by an email from the principal once a week. So there's actually a lot of impressions that are there. There's two ways to reach those brands. You can either direct sell them, which was our early model because they did not understand this marketplace at all. And they're like, hey, there's 14,000 public school districts. I can't just support one. I'll just get a lot of people mad. So please go away politely. And so we figured out how to roll up a network of districts. And that's the power of this platform. It's not 1 million impressions. It's 100 million plus impressions.
Sure, okay.
And you start doing the kind of Scooby-Doo voodoo magic of translating corporate ROI, click-through rates, cost per thousand, and branding lift, if you will, into revenue per student per year, revenue per teacher. Suddenly, we figured out the language barrier and a marketing construct that's pretty simple. And again, they have all the control of.
Yeah. I was going to say it's more of a marathon than a race.
It's absolutely. It's and it's just the first step. So we went through a couple of pivots. Early on, we thought that brands would want to reach students in an appropriate way because, Nike, Stadium, Whole Foods, Cafeteria, Etna Auditorium, billions of repeat impressions. And our very first campaign was CVS trying to reach parents to promote flu shots at their minute clinics. And we're scratching our heads going, well, that's nice that they want to reach moms, but wow, we can reach so many kids. And that was really just the harbinger of what was to come, that they digitally wanted to find ways to reach parents and teachers, parents as purchasers and decision makers, teachers as influencers, that trusted relationship to drive a behavior change. And that behavior change would end up being a revenue share model that the districts would therefore get the majority piece, 75+% of the revenue would go back to the districts. So our model was you never prepay for the services. So it's, that's the hardest thing to do is ask somebody to shift spend or create new resources. Sure. You have full control, and we stay out of the classroom and the curricula because, that's verboten. So this is all about those big mass assets that you wouldn't otherwise know how to monetize. Let us be your experts. Let us tap into that. Let us create this steady flow of revenue for you, and then you can use it however you want. That's up to you.
Wow.
Yeah. So you are specifically not targeting students.
We pivoted from that, and the CVS was the leading example, but it honestly took us a couple years till we finally realized nobody really wants to reach the students. There's a voluntary restriction for a lot of brands are 12 and under for all the right reasons. Right. And it's obvious that the right kind of brands would show up and not the wrong. It's never going to be alcohol, adult content, cigarettes, stuff like that. But to a point you made earlier, it's really kind of interesting to us that we figured out that, Sony is fine, PlayStation is not. Coke and Pepsi, not so much. Dasani, water, and Aquafina, that's fine. So we had to figure out how to navigate some of those sensitivities to make sure that we knew how to position brands in the right kind of a way. Sure. And that's sort of the secret magic, that we know where these impressions are, these idle assets, but we also know what kind of brands are going to work and ultimately continue to pay for access here.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
How's it, so... How many schools?
Yep.
I mean, your network is growing exponentially at this point.
It is.
It sounds like, because you've figured out the model, it's working. What's the buy-in for a district at this point? It's just a little bit of time.
At this point, it is. It was not in the early days.
Yeah.
In the early days, it was an individual in-person sell. It's very much about trust. It's a
Yeah.
relationship-based,
Yeah.
marketplace, as we know.
Yeah.
And so we had to sit down. And I literally once flew to a unnamed district in the greater Phoenix area, and we were meeting with the head of communications, which tends to be one of our major champions within, because they're responsible for the websites
Sure.
and
Right.
partnerships
Exactly.
and basically the face of the community. And the superintendent walked in and literally sat down at the conference table, looked at me for 5 seconds in the most awkward silence possible, and then he turned to her and said, "He won't screw me, proceed," and he walked out. And so there is a lot of making sure that, because the last thing they want is for some money. They're going to suddenly
Yeah,
have,
yeah.
a Victoria's Secret show up. We use the Victoria's
Sure.
Secret example because they
Sure.
want to reach moms 25 to 54. Algorithmically, they have these magic ways of finding that. And so it was incumbent on us to screen out even something like that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because the last thing you need on the homepage of a very large public school district is, that.
A
Right.
lingerie store. Yeah.
And that would just destroy the marketplace. And we feel like we're stewards of a bigger idea.
Sure.
It's not about digital advertising.
Right.
No, this is all
it's
about you helping schools make funds.
drive
Find the
new
funds.
revenue sources,
Yeah.
because ever since the market crash, it's a whole new world.
Yeah.
And what we've tried to do is not just make it easy, not just give them the controls, not just make sure we never pay or charge them and make them pay up front. We also wanted to say corporations aren't bad. Advertising is not a 4-letter word.
Right.
And it took a long time to get to that place.
Oh, absolutely.
We just recently respun in the last year. Our main product is EFP, Education Funding Partners, AdNet. Early on, districts didn't want advertising. Ad was not a good thing. A sponsorship, a message was fine.
Yes.
And now, because of this marketplace we've built, they've actually embraced that. And they're like, hey, you should be signing up for AdNet.
Yeah.
And it's all about impressions. Join the network, and you get to join that massive impressions being marketed to a massive of major marketers. You get to come through our controlled filter and then participate in the proceeds.
Awesome.
And then, so do the schools benefit based on their impressions? They get like a percentage or whatever based on their impressions?
That's exactly right.
Okay.
So, Chicago Public Schools might have X number of impressions,
Sure.
and Smith District might have Y. There's obviously going to be a difference based on the impression
Yeah,
load.
absolutely.
And so I think where it's all going, though, is not about digital marketing. It's not about display ads and how do you tap into LinkedIn and Twitter and Facebook on the district sites, which have value, and they really are just now learning how to monetize it. It's more the deeper engagement. How do you really get big brands to invest deeply and broadly in STEM and arts and athletics, and say, from a corporate social responsibility perspective, it makes sense for our employees to be engaged in their schools and in the community, for our partners who want to see us doing the right kind of things. And by the way, millennials are the largest, fastest growing part of our employee base, and they are demanding and expecting more from corporate America.
Right.
So to us, we give them that turnkey platform as one more checkpoint to say, looky what you can do.
Yep.
And then you get a major brand, showing up on your website that you never could have sold on your own.
Right.
You as a parent or teacher are saying to yourself, okay, I know the district's doing everything possible to try to find new resources in a responsible way. And we want to be their partner doing that now and for the long term.
Yeah. Well, and I think as long as that is communicated from the district and whatever other means, whether it's something you guys also put out as a partnership or whatever, and explain it to the parents in the community and say, yes, we're going to have these sponsorships, or flat out, we're going to have these ads, but the district benefits by getting, last year we pulled in X amount of money off of these ads, and then the parents go, okay. Seriously, if that's, I'm just thinking of, if all of a sudden that showed up on the school district where my children go to school, where my daughter goes to school, and all of a sudden I'd be like, okay, why all of a sudden you guys having these ads, and the district said, well, or even beforehand, which would be better, is to
Right.
say, hey, we're going to partner with these guys, and now we're going to have ads on here, but the school district's going to get, this percentage based on what we've seen, and that's going to help raise money for X. And you go, okay, I didn't have to buy cookies or candy or whatever crazy
Gift
other thing
wrap,
they come up with.
pizza, magazines, and
weird
send my kids out
candles or-
selling on the street and things that people are sick of doing. These
this
weekly
is
fundraisers.
passive, and actually people who aren't even a part of the district who come to the site because they're looking for the basketball schedule or whatever it is they're looking for. They're actually helping my school. It's cool.
And that's
It's
the
very- it's a
school side,
very-
right?
That's very cool.
Well, thank you. I would say just, one other top of mind thought as I was hearing that, that it's also good business.
Yeah.
Sure. And if it wasn't good business, it wouldn't be the partnership element of what we're doing. But 93% of parents will switch to a brand that supports their number one cause. Their number one cause is their kids' education. So it actually makes sense to say, I am going to ride this cause marketing platform. I'm going to support your schools and your kids. I'm going to do it in these kind of passive ways, not with hyper promotional call to action sales pieces. It's going to say, we're here, we're part of this, we're with you. And what's the lifetime benefit of a branding play like that?
That's cool.
Yeah, exactly. That's
So
awesome. Cool.
45 minutes away, South 331 CD today.
Yes. Be there.
Positive external relations to improve school-based technology practices.
Only the education marketplace could have come up with that kind of
That's a great
panel, because it basically says we can talk about anything
Yeah.
to anyone about all the time.
That's right.
Mickey, thank you for stopping by.
Yeah.
If folks want to get in touch with you, best way.
So it's Mickey Freeman. You can go to edufundingpartners.com, edufundingpartners.com. Cell 303-819-1589 or mfreeman@edufundingpartners.com.
You've been listening to a recorded conversation from EduTech Guy's live coverage of FETC 2018. For more information about EduTech Guys, visit edutechguys.com. And thanks for listening.